Hello, so in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to convert your 1 to 100 scale house or another architectural plan into a plan or the beginnings of a plan really for an environmental design. So we are looking here at a landscape architecture plan. Okay, so architects use multiple sheets of their plans. There you have plans such as lighting plans, you have hydraulic plans, which is your plumbing plans. You have network plans, all kinds of different plans there. Okay, so so now what we'll do here is we'll start converting this. Okay, so this is not going to add trees to it. You can add trees later on yourself. There are other things that can go on continuing on from this. All right, so first of all, what we'll do here is that we're in Adobe Illustrator, by the way. It doesn't matter what version of Illustrator you have, and we're going to be using as close as possible to our specifications that we're using. And I'm also now going to introduce some industry specifications or conventions, really. Because the school ones are lacking somewhat at this stage in time. All right, so first of all, we have our plan. So this is titled Full Plan Example. I'm going to save this one straight away as being Environmental Design 1. Okay, so here we have Topo Example, and I'm going to save it. Okay. Yes, I'll replace it. I started recording before and someone came into the classroom and had a discussion. So that's all good. Okay, let's click on OK. All right, so that's all saved now. And I'm now going to go over and start converting this. So I'm going to delete these dimension lines. I'm also going to delete the roof overhang, or the eaves part. And I'm also going to now get rid of the furniture and the internal walls. We don't need internal walls on the landscape plan because we have other plans which represent or show us how the view from inside each room is going to look. This plan here itself is looking at how the landscape is set out. Okay, because the landscape plan might have been completed after the build or is a part of the new build. Okay, so when a client comes up to you and says, hey, hang on, how does this landscape plan relate to the rooms? If it's a new build, then I would most likely keep the internal walls in there and remove the furniture. Okay. Everyone does things differently. You might have another drawing for the client, and you might have one just for the landscaper to produce it. Okay, so here we have it. We have our more sort of basic structure. I'm going to also now go over to floor plan. I'm going to change this over to here landscape plan. Okay, and we can now also convert this over to 1 to 200 scale, because you note that this is an A3 page and we're already at the extent of the A3 page. So we'll convert this over to 1 to 200. I accidentally put in here 120. So 1 to 200 scale, and let's convert this down. So I'm going to select this building over here, and I'm going to press Command G or Control G on the PC. So it's all grouped. I'm also going to double click into this wall here, this external wall, and I'm going to make the fill as being white. Okay, and you'll see the reason why in a little bit. All right, because we're going to be drawing topos underneath it. Okay. All right, so let's convert this to 1 to 200 scale now. We've selected it. We're going to go over to the scale tool, double click on the scale tool, and you type in here, reduce it down to 50% of the original size, because this is 1 to 100 scale now. 50% is going to be 1 to 200, and here we have it. So other things now. we understand that this house is pointing north, and this is west, that's east, that is due south. Now, this is the entrance to the structure, and therefore a street is somewhere here because you want easy access to a street. And this house in particular is fairly close to the street level. So I'm just going to move this house up and have it there, okay? So it depends on your plan itself, depends what you want to do. All right, so now I'm going to try and keep these things according to the school spec as much as possible, but I'm going to introduce you to other bits of specification. Okay, so so this here is already kind of out of specification of the school stuff. We're looking here at industry practice. We go over to the rectangle tool, and by the way, architects will be using CAD, a CAD type program. We're using Illustrator to keep things simple. It's a program you already know how to use. And I'm going to draw the fence line. So this here is the block itself. Okay, and I'm going to make the fill as being none. And we go over to our stroke dialog box, and we're going to modify this. So I'm going to have the stroke as being 0.1 millimeter. So it's very thin. Okay. And I'm going to now put in the dashed line of being, let's say, a dash of 4, a gap of 2, and then a dash of 2 millimeters, and another dash of 2. Okay. Now, depending on your printer at school, a 0.1 might not print out. So you need to figure out what is the minimum thickness line that your printer prints out. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom into here because I need to remove the fence from this front of the house. Okay, so I click on that. I go over to, now every version of Illustrator has a different value here. I'm going to go to the eraser tool, long click on it, and to go to the scissors tool. And I'm going to click on this node here, that node there, and I'm going to use the direct selection tool to select that part of the fence I don't want. I'm going to delete it. So there we have it. That's the fence line there. Okay, you can add a key to this explaining what each line is. Okay, and you'll need a key for this as well, and I'll explain to you later on why we have that key. All right, so topographics. You understand it now that we have a thick line as being a key, and a thinner line is an increment within the contour line. Okay, so depending on the slope of your block, it depends what type of key you use, the values for your key and the smaller increments. All right, so as default, I like to have my increments as being 500 mil increments. If you go less than 500 mil increments, then that's half a meter. You will run into some problems with basic sort of slight increments in terms of sloping things. You could bring it down to 250 mil, but I reckon that'd be the absolute minimum, bare minimum. All right, so let's move on. Now, I'm going to now use the line tool, the pen tool, and I'm going to create a new layer. So my structure here has symbols. Okay, and everything's on the symbols layer. I had walls, and I can get rid of walls now. Okay, and I have my key there at the bottom. By the way, I just found out that I have a landscape plan. All right, so we have symbols, and I'm just going to convert this to being the house. Okay, and I'm going to lock it so that I can't modify this layer anymore. And in between it, I'm going to put in a new layer and bring this layer down underneath the house. I'm going to call this one here Topo. Okay, this is an easier way, right, to organize things so that you're not going to be continuously selecting individual lines and things and having a bit of craziness in your plan. So let's check this out. So let's start off by putting in the main thicker lines for your topo. So I'm going to have mine as being a 500 millimeter increment. Okay, so you could be different in yours. If you want to be more exact, you have 250 millimeter increments. Okay, if the land that you're using is flatter, then I'll probably go to 250 millimeter increments. If it is quite a slope, I'll probably go to 500 mil increments. So I'm going to start sort of thinking about my plan here, and I'm going to start putting in my thicker topo. So I'm going to go to the full extent, extending from the bounds of the block. Okay, and you see it here, that's my topo so far, but I need to now put some thickness to it. So I'm going to go to my stroke, and I'm going to change over to a 0.5 millimeter thickness line. Okay, so that is my 0.25. Oh, sorry, it's 0.5. Geez, 0.25 millimeter, and that is a 0.25 millimeter topo line. Okay, so I'm going to continue on putting in the larger topo increments in here, and I might put in some type of shape in there. Okay, and I might put in my final sweeping path through here. Okay, so, and I'm also going to put in another thing here. Just there. All right. So these are the main key ones. Now remember that if you are looking at a topo, you need to put in the dimensions. So here I'm going to use the type tool, and I'm going to just click anywhere at the moment, and I'm going to type in the distance above sea level. So where I am at the moment, I'm approximately 20 meters above sea level. Let's make it, let's make this 40. So we type in here 40, and we're using metric values here, by the way. And we make sure that the paragraph style is in the center. And we're going to put this 40 over here on top of this major line. I'm just going to zoom into it. Okay. And I'm going to rotate this 40 so that it is in line with the topo. You can use type on path, but I'm just keeping it simple here. Okay. All right, so you can't see the 40 there too easily. So I'm going to go to the circle tool, and I'm going to put in a circle, pressing Option and Shift to lock it in proportion, as well as having it from the center. And that is black right now. I'm going to press, keep that as being a clear white, and I'm going to press Command and then open square bracket to bring it down by 1, and then I'm going to select the 40 as well, and I'm going to group it together. So press Command G or Control G on the PC. So that is 40. Okay, and then we're going to go over to this one over here. Now you notice that I'm trying to keep these contour lines roughly in the same location as the other one. So they're in line with each other, meaning that you don't have a value here and then a value here and then a value somewhere else so the eye has to jump around. You usually have it in a series, usually in a straight as much line as possible. Okay, so this one is going to be, now this is dropping down, so this one is going to be 35. Okay. And this one here is going to be going further down again. And you'll see why shortly, why I have this as being another contour line here, exactly why I put this one in. 36. Oh, not 36, geez. 30. Okay, and this one here is going to be back to 35 again. Okay. The reason for that is that this line here could be coming around here and then continuing on. This here is a bit of a valley in there, okay? In this case, I'm going to have an excavation. All right, so I haven't put in the smaller contour lines yet. Let's put those in. So we have here, we need so we need some lines. Now, the closer the line is, the more steeper the contour is of the block. The more spaced out those lines are, the least steep it is, right? The more flat the land is. So I want to put in these thinner topos now, these smaller contour lines. And I'm going to have the value of this as being a value as 0.1 millimeter. And I need to make my fill as being none. Okay, and this is my thinner contour line. Now, VCAR does stipulate these lines are dotted. In industry, they are varying, okay, in terms of what the architect has done. So I'm going to put in a dashed line here of being, let's say, 1 to 1 millimeter. And get rid of these ones here. Okay, so they are just stippled like that. And I need to put in, so we have here 39, 38, 37, 36. Okay, and I'm going to adjust these now so that they follow the contour of what my area is here. So we see here that this is a very small distance. We have a major drop here, almost needing a retaining wall at this point here to get the landscape right. Okay, so that's getting a bit steep there. And I might sort of flatten this block out here a little bit. You also have a line over here too, because there might be a slight drop from the front, and now this is not that steep at all. Okay, so let's move on from there. We've also got a difference of 5 in here, so let's put those lines in now. So this is 34. Press return. $33. Press return. $32. I'm going to start really coming in close to it now. In fact, I might 32. Might have to adjust this, might need to zoom in a bit. Sorry for this getting a bit longer, but in terms of time, but this is a little bit more involved, really for seniors to look at. Okay, there we have it. So now you also need to put in the lines here. Now you can, if you want, you can actually have it so that this line here wraps around to the other side. Okay, showing us that yes, it does actually swing around, for example. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're getting there. All right. This does need more topo lines sweeping into here, okay, to show that it is all done and dusted properly. So I just want to show a few other things. So anytime there is an excavation, meaning that you are digging into a block, you need to put in arrowheads. So unfortunately in Illustrator we don't have an arrowhead that we can place in too easily. There is a way to, in fact there is a way to put those in as a pattern on a line. I'm not too sure at this stage how to do that. I can come back and add to this later on as a part 2. But here I'm just going to simply go to my rectangle tool to start doing these arrowheads. I'm going to make a completely equal square. I'm going to put in, convert it over to a fill. And then I'm going to go to the pen tool. I'm going to remove one of the anchors. Okay. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to press R for rotate. And I'll rotate this as 45 degrees. Why isn't it selecting for? I've got to go to the selection tool. And I can rotate this by 45 degrees increment. I'm going to reduce this down to about here, so it's a little bit more of an arrowhead. And I'm going to reduce it down a little bit more, so it's about there like that. And the idea of it is that you go around and you add the arrowheads over a distance. Right, now I think I need to actually do that. I need to do that thing where it makes it as a pattern. So what it is that you have these fins pointing into the excavated area. Okay, so you do that all the way around this. Please use, you probably want to use that line effect that I'm going to do another video. Okay, and that's some basic Topo stuff there. Hope you like that. Okay, please like and subscribe, and subscribe to this playlist so that you can see any updates later on. Okay, thank you. Bye.